Ooh. And we're Facebook Live. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
The stalwart diehard warriors here.
Yes. So let me share this to the actual private page. Thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg. Oh, I thought we had another person jump in there.
No, I just made a better background for the occasion.
There. All right. Whoa. How did that happen? Say Control I. Don't know how to take that off. Oh well. All righty. So
Make this into a PowerPoint someday.
we are live, Pete.
Hey,
We're recording.
all indications show that we are live.
Third ID in the house tonight. Pete's got, is that a bomber behind you?
B-29, baby.
So I shared with you the thing with my grandpa, right? With the Lucky Bastard Club.
Yeah, you sure did.
So I have a feeling does that have the tailgunner and all that? Hey, is the ball gunner, is that on the top? Is that
Ball gunner was on the bottom of like B-17 and B-24. It's some even smaller bombers like B-25.
okay?
Had ball turrets on it, but the most famous was the B-17.
Okay.
That was, and you had to meet height requirements, which were, you had to be a
Oh
shrine.
no, my grandpa only came up to about here on me.
Yeah.
So he was in the five club, probably 5, 6.
This one behind me actually had remote computer, what early computer guided thing. So you'd have a gun sight in one of these blisters up here. You can see one on top. And you would track it from the gun sight, but the guns were somewhere else. Pretty advanced for its day.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, 35 missions deep into Hitler's. It was really interesting reading that, like volleying to and fro, and they wrote it pretty gangster back in the day for 70 years ago or whatever it was.
But one of the things that made it tough was they'd hit headwinds, and their ground speed was down to like as fast as a car. So they were basically floating, fighting this headwind, and they were easy pickings for flak gunners and stuff because they were so stable, in the sky. Crazy. No heat. I mean, the planes weren't pressurized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different breed, man.
Yeah. So thanks for joining. Hopefully we're going to start doing these a little bit longer just to see if we get some more traction and interaction in the evenings. Now that it's a little darker out, I'm not ghosted out either, Pete, with the sun coming through. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Myself. So guys, we're going to go over some interviewing tips, and that's one of those things when you're prepping to go, oh man, I wish I had one of my books. I've actually have a lot of interview questions written down on stuff I've asked over the years, stuff I ask for questions when interviewing people, kind of the responses that I like to hear to get people to go into the next steps. So we're going to go over that. We did not Google our answers this evening. So if you want to use Google, print that out. Cool. All of your competitors in the competitive marketplace, chances are they're going to ask those standardized HR questions. When you get some of these interview questions that tell me about a time when, those are pretty painful. At least I think they are. The situational stuff. Those are the Karen questions, if you ask me. So feel free to ask some questions in here. We'll address them throughout the week. We'll address them in real time if possible. So, but we are going to do a little PowerPointing for you because Pete's really good at making PowerPoints and doing other.
don't have a PowerPoint on this one, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, so disappointing.
Denied.
So here's what, do you have something, Pete, that you were talking
I do.
about, a little something?
Virtual interview tip sheet that we can share from,
Okay,
which is good because most of the interviews, so much of the interview now is going to be video and by phone, even in the post-COVID world. So we want to prepare you for that as best we can, get a few tips, of course, but just so you're kind of aware that that experience is different than a face-to-face. It's very different. There's so many nuances. One thing, discipline is looking at the camera and Zoom and things like that. Our natural tendency is to look at whoever's talking, which it would be great if it was face to face because you'd both be looking at each other, but that's not happening now. And as you can see, I'm looking at the camera as much as I can and throwing out a smile there, which is good to do. In whether you're with someone face to face or not, you should be smiling. But some of the things that you want to do apply in all situations. I'm talking like being confident, knowing yourself, knowing your value going into it, and specifically fine tuning your value proposition to that particular job. If you're a truck driver, you can't find work, even though you throw your back out, let's say. So then you got to change career fields real quick. And you're going into something else. Maybe you want to sell cars or trucks. Your value isn't going to be, your logbook, or it's not going to be your ability to transport hazardous materials anymore. It's going to be something that you know about trucks. Let's say you happen to be an expert. You've driven them. You know how they ride. You're kind of a truck driving, riding expert. So you could drift into selling that. But you got to convince the people that are offering the job out there that you're going to be able to make them money. So your whole value proposition changes when you do that. You're going from, being able to slog the miles, drive at all hours of the night and day, and get the load there on time, to something like customer service, customer friendly, engaging people, finding hidden needs, whatever it is that they're looking for, that you can convince that person that you're going to be a top-notch moneymaker for them. Does that make sense?
yeah. So here's one of the things too that can be a little bit of a slippery slope. So depending on the type of job that you're going into or what you're interviewing for, if you're staying within your career field, your positioning when answering your questions should be narrated in the manner of, that's what I do for a living, if that makes sense. So like, let's say you're going to be a hazmat driver for something like Pete was talking about before you hurt your back, because it's kind of inevitable, right? If they're like, do you have experience doing this? Oh, I sure do. Here's how. And if it's not a direct connection to that, you should have something that's a transferable skill. So Pete, like, do you have any kind of thing that comes to mind when it comes to converting a military experience into a civilian experience on those conversion skills or situations?
Yeah, team leadership. You come out of a one, you did one hitch, one and done, and you come out. Everybody who comes out knows how to run a team. You know how to run training records. You know how to give performance evaluation. You know a lot about first aid, buddy care. Even there's not too many people that's sitting in a sea of cubes in an office that could just walk in a day and be their first responder. You know what I mean? So you bring some extra value with you as a veteran that we as veterans take for granted. I mean, there's a whole boatload of stuff that I brought with me. I wasn't even thinking about it because that's just where I came from. Stuff about like security. I was in the habit of getting up from my desk and always locking my computer. Well, nobody in the corporate world, they don't do that. That's not their thing. So these are some of the things that you bring with you that are value adds as a vet that your competitors don't bring. So weave that kind of stuff into the conversation. So how do you do that? You practice.
So I was helping a guy about a year ago couple of them actually, where COVID hit, right? This was just before then. And they were a couple of infantry guys. And you wouldn't think that infantry fellas have a whole lot of like transferable skills. But both of them were staff NCOs, so E5 and E6. So nothing like, a first sergeant with 30 or 25 years of service or anything like that. And we built them up a resume that was very leadership driven, small team driven. And one of them was for, I think, a Dick's Sporting Goods. The other one was a Bath and Body Works of all things, and some other retailer, real similar in nature. And so when I thought about what are the things that in combat arms that you're dealing with all the time, and the things that came to mind was you don't always get the cream of the crop humans at 18 years old, but your job is to turn them into that amazing soldier, right? So when it comes to things like that are important in retail, of solving customer problems when they come in, so conflict resolution, that was one of the things that we built on. The diplomacy piece of being an NCO, being caught between your soldiers being dumbasses and the officers yelling at you for them being dumbasses. So, in that hierarchy in the corporate world, you're going to have that, regional retail manager, people person coming in and probably yelling at you in the store, why aren't these clothes folded right, or whatever the shit my kid deals with at the Gap, right? It's the same type of thing. So why are the Humvees dirty? Why aren't you guys don't worry about uniforms anymore, I guess, because I'm in the day, so is Pete, of black boots that are shiny.
Yeah.
You guys got that suede shit these days or whatever. And yeah, I've seen the stuff about, if you wore BDUs, you probably need a prostate exam. I'm still a ways from that. So Colo Guard, Minnesota company, it's going to save me from that experience, fortunately. But where I'm going with this is that the most unlikely of things often that you did on a daily basis are actually very transferable. And you have to be able to connect A to B. So, retail environment, like this guy, there was I want to say it was 5 or 6 people. He had an area, I want to say it was camping or something like that at Dick's Sporting Goods that he was going to be responsible for. He had 5 people that he had to do all the scheduling for, make sure that all of the standards were kept at the retail level, all that. Well, anyways, long story short is we gave him a story. He seemed and felt hopeless prior to this. When he went in with some confidence and told the store manager that this is what he did with a bunch of unruly 11 Bravos, and if you're in the Army, if you're stuck with tankers, artillery guys, and infantry guys, I don't know what else is worse than those 3, probably, and Cav Scouts. Cav Scouts are like, the guys that think they're infantry, but cooler. So when you're dealing with those 4 people, you have your hands full. Retail world is a cakewalk compared to that stuff. So, you have to figure out why is this thing that they're asking for on that job description important. And I either do have experience doing that or I don't. And if I do, I need to be able to say, it can't be found bad guy shot in face, no longer a problem. It needs to be, worked with high risk situations where objectives were very difficult to deal with, and eliminated all problems in diplomatic or other ways. I don't know. Pete's the creative resume dude. He could probably make, capturing Al-Qaeda sound pretty fancy and important in a retail story. I'm not going to put you on the spot to do it, Pete, but if you want to, go ahead, work your magic. You might get some business.
We have much more important things to talk about. So
yeah.
But no, regarding to interviewing and stuff. Some of that, the skills transfer stuff, that's really important to be able to articulate that. I'm going to assume that let's assume that you've done that going into the video interview, which is, again, it's a little bit different. And if you can make yourself a little bit better than your competitors, then you really raise your chances. Let's say all things are equal between you and your competitors, but somehow you come across better on your presentation of yourself on video than your competitor does, then you're likely to stay top of mind in the people who are making the decision. So that's why it's really good to either invest in some, a little bit decent equipment beyond what your laptop provides. Get it in a place where you're going to cast a good image and you're not being ghosted out by the computer screens in front of you or something. And there's some things you can do to work on just how you come across on camera and how you sound. One of the things you might want to do is just record yourself. Have a Zoom chat with somebody and just have a conversation and record that thing so that you can get accustomed to how you sound on video, on the playback, and how you look when you're stepping outside of yourself to watch a recording of yourself. It's a whole different game. The other thing to do, I recommend, is just practicing with somebody. Have somebody throw some questions at you. Their performance doesn't matter, but yours does. You record that and you play it back. Ask them for some evaluation, feedback, that kind of thing. It's just hard to just jump into these things and assume that, well, the camera's going to work, the lighting's okay. And most people don't even think about it. They just hit the join meeting button and leave the rest of their life up to chance. These are game-changing things. The job you get can really impact your life. Even if it's not the job, it still could lead to things that lead to other things, and really affect how things go for you. So treat every opportunity as a high priority. Does that make sense?
Pete, did they used to tell you guys in the Air Force, fight like you train like you fight? Was that a thing there, or just is that an Army thing?
It might have been more of an Army thing, but we did emphasize training. Let's put it that way. We always had to fall back on training. We didn't have the kind of situations. I was a mechanic, so I saw aircraft. Okay. So, but we did have we had weak mobility. We did chemical warfare training and stuff, but we had to learn how to survive and work in a totally different environment, not combat or anything like that. Nothing too high tempo. So,
okay. So what Pete's saying is the first time you click on that link or on Zoom or GoToMeeting or Teams or whatever, it shouldn't be for your initial interview. You should have done a dry run with some buddies somewhere. Yeah. And I tell you what, we have on this page, there's over 50,000 people, but I guarantee you, if you put up a post saying, hey, I have a job interview, my first one since I got out of the Marine Corps, for example, somebody, you'll probably have 20 people offer help to do a run through, and they won't be judging. They won't judge you. They'll give you feedback. They'll give you honest feedback. So we've got a lot of people on here that have been in all kinds of different industries that are very, very helpful to make sure that you guys get ahead. This page is full of resources. It goes beyond Pete and myself, way beyond the two of us and anybody that we have pull on here for Battle Buddies for the week, which has been kind of light lately. We had a special guest all signed up, ready to go tonight. But supposedly the power's out and doesn't have lighting like I do. So that's why my glow is so good tonight.
Very healthy.
Yeah. So interview tips too. So when it comes to this virtual stuff, I've got a kid who's into computers, kind of a nerd. I snagged one of his cameras from him one day because the one that was on my laptop, it looked like it was from 1944 when that airplane was built behind Pete. So, the way you come across online, if you can't scavenge something from your kids' computer nerd stuff, just go on Amazon. Even a $15-20 camera is going to probably outperform something that's, in your laptop. That's, if you have got a laptop that's a little bit older, and a good quality mic, even if you have to use your headset, a wired headset.
Yeah. And I would recommend doing a microphone like like you have, if you can, or using the headset, the low profile types, maybe ear pods or something, because it just doesn't look right when somebody's dressed up in business casual or better, and then they've got Mickey Mouse ears, headphones, and then a boom mic swinging down. It looks odd. Let's put it that way. So yeah, you want to try to come across as natural as you would in a face-to-face situation. That's why it's important to be cognizant of your lighting, your situation, what's going on in the background. I changed my background to something that's more appropriate for the crowd that I'm meeting with. I also have a virtual background that's more formal, or like a studio background, or we're like Chuck's. He's got a good dimly lit background, and that would work for an interview session. But I also do interview coaching, by the way, as part of my business. So I did have a client that I did some coaching with. At our first interview session, this is stuff you don't think of. His home office is down in his basement. So he just pivoted, and there was a basement wall, and there was a window way up in the corner, one of those little basement type windows, and this crappy paneling in the background. And I'm kind of fixating on that more than I am on him. And I'm like, you just transported me into kind of a crappy environment here. Now I have to go through an interview and pretend I'm interested. Now that wasn't my overriding thought, but that was sort of playing in my background, like, get me out of here, this kind of thing. So when I evaluated him, I made that suggestion. I said, in that little window that was up there was throwing a lot of light and all that kind of stuff. So I just mentioned it to him, and the next time he dressed up, he was up in the living room. It was 180 degrees from what we were experiencing the first time, and it made such a difference. So you have to think of things like that. The headphones, how you dress, the lighting, the sound, what's going on in the background. I like to talk with my hands a lot, but the way my camera is set up, you don't see that. So now you just see like my shoulders are moving, but I'm wanting to talk with my hands a little bit more, but you can't see that. So the whole camera environment just changes the game for you.
I highly suggest against AirPods or Bluetooth headphones. I've done a lot of interviews, and I got a hearing problem. So
okay,
it's the wireless headphones for me anyways are hell. The AirPod Pros are a little bit better, but what I noticed is if they've got the noise canceling on them, if there's a fan in the background, it'll drone out that person a little bit. So don't get me wrong, if you're having a casual conversation with your buddy or whatever on the phone, those are fantastic. My son's got a pair of them, but when he rolls his window down in his car and he's talking to me on them, I have a hard time hearing him. So, and this is something that is going to turn into an income for you. Yeah. So it requires some investment. So, if you don't have money, take time to, just arrange to put yourself in the best possible circumstance possible. That's all we're saying here. Pete, when it comes to some of these interview questions, I know that there's always a big focus on what are they going to ask me? Where are the answers, right? Tell me about a time when your team didn't meet its quota. What did you do? Tell me about a time when, someone in payroll didn't get or accounts receivable didn't get something on, those types of things. Those are situational questions. Those are questions that you should be able to answer if that's something you do. If that person is looking for the perfect response, I don't know, maybe you're not in the right place. That's where the difference between a leader and a manager kind of comes in. And, you know, coachable, if you're a veteran, you're coachable, obviously. So I don't want to go down that path right now. But I think that the thing that's very, very critical when it comes to the interview isn't necessarily the questions that are asked of you. It's the questions you ask the person across the table from you, because that shows that person that you've put a lot of forethought into why you're there, what your purpose is going to be there, and things that maybe challenges or concerns that you might have that could keep you from being successful and being back in the stupid job hunt before you know it. Because, you know, you walked into a place and they're ready to hire you right on the spot. Don't fall for that trick. I fell for that in 2001. It was literally the worst job that I ever worked in my adult life.
Can I share the screen? And
Yeah, I
show
got it.
people the solution to the topic that you just brought up. Let me just show you something here, guys, that I hope you all are familiar with. Are you seeing that?
Hey, show everybody where that invite button's at, Pete.
Battle Buddies USA out on Facebook. Here's the invite button where you want to invite your fellow veteran friends and people who are friendly to our cause, recruiters, things like that. So you're on the Battle Buddies page. Here's a Files tab right over here, all the way to the right. You get on the Files tab page, and lo and behold, there's just a ton of resources for you to help get through and learn how. This is more resources than your competitors have access to. So, and the one that I want to focus on is called the 64 toughest interview questions. And that tells you how to address all these behavioral questions that suck to answer. When you can knock a few of those out of the park, that is going to be a game changer for you versus how your competitors are going to stammer through there. So I would recommend getting that from us. It's something that 64 toughest interview questions. There are other versions of it out on the internet too. Some of them might say 120. I found that these 64 gets right down to it. I use it as a reference guide. I don't like sit there and read it all at night and things like that. But it is interesting to go through the questions and just see what the real reason is for them asking that. Because it certainly isn't the answer you're about to give. Okay, they're not necessarily looking for a one-to-one answer, but they are looking for how you respond and how you act under fire. You know what I mean? So grab that. There's other ones there. There's networking. There's a virtual interview tip sheet, which is what we're working off of tonight to give you some good information. Get out there. Yo.
So Pete, when you go into these interviews, how stressed should you be?
Stressed? There's no need for stress. No stress whatsoever. Because I mean, if you're feeling stressed, there's some things you can do to alleviate that. Crack your back, get your spine aligned, take a deep breath, hold it, let it out slowly, that kind of thing, and just feel that go away. And just wait for the interview, because you got to get through it. This is going to happen. It's going to happen again and again. You're also approaching this interview not only to see if you're a good fit for the job, but you're going in there to see if that company is a good fit for you. Could be a cool job, but if the company is extremely dysfunctional, or they're asking a ridiculous bunch of requirements that aren't in the job description, might not be the place for you. So that you want to be prepared to ask those questions on the tail end of your interview when you have that opportunity. Now, the type of questions you ask, probably we'll save that for another talk, but you definitely want to be able to ask questions when you're all done with this. So,
Yeah, I'd like to
the stress that you have ought to be something you can channel into positive.
Hey, I'd like to tell these guys what not to ask on that first interview. because
Yeah.
HR is going to go over certain stuff with you. You should have a decent idea of knowing what the comp range is going to be going in, and either qualify yourself or disqualify yourself right away.
Mhm.
Chances are benefits are going to be competitive in the marketplace. So if you're going to go work at a gas station, expect gas station type of benefits. If you're going to go in to be the CEO of 3M, you can probably expect different types of benefits. So those types of things, you got to be careful to not come across as selfish. That's how those kind of appear to the interviewer of, oh my goodness, this guy, he came in and he's asking me how many weeks of vacation is he gonna get? He haven't put a day of work in yet, right? So, those are, I feel good talking, working at this place, the vibe's right. I did a walkthrough in the back because I'm gonna be a forklift driver or whatever. And the guys back there seem pretty cool, or they seem like a bunch of douchebags. Fuck it. I'm not even concerned about what the benefits are, because I'll just go to the warehouse right down the street from here. So, the taking these, your mindset should be that your value is X, and this employer has to build up to what your value is, what you're worth. It shouldn't be, well, I'm worth here, these guys are off the camera, and dig, sell myself out, go way below until they're like, wow, you're so pathetic. Get off your knees and stop begging. If you stop crying right now, sir, we'll hire you. Don't be that guy. Have them portray the value to you. And right now, the good thing is there's nobody, everybody's short of people. So, the job market is hot. You can be picky right now. At least if you're under probably a $70,000-ish a year, Pete, you say right in there, you can probably be pretty picky where you want to go work.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yep,
just because the first guy puts the offering plate out in front of you doesn't mean you got to take it. So
yeah, but you want to get yourself in a position where you're being offered. You want to be in the driver's seat on as much as you can, and interviewing well is going to help you attain that seat.
it's a lot nicer to be able to say no when you got multiple offers on the table. So never stop interviewing until, depending on what type of job you've got, they've given you a company smock or whatever, or a laptop, an ID badge, and you filled out the HR paperwork, and you filled out how many dependents you got. Keep on interviewing up. I don't give a shit if you got an offer letter and in 4 days you start. If you've got an interview scheduled, keep it, do it, go to it, do it over the video, whatever it happens to be. Never stop, because you never know. Because if something doesn't work out with that guy that you're going to go and work for, and you burn that bridge, you might need him in 3 weeks or 3 years. You just never know. Okay. Anything else on interview tips, Pete?
No, I think we've thrown enough of good stuff out there, but I was wondering if anybody out there had any experience with one of the latest trends is artificial intelligence interviews, where you're being squawked at by a computer and all they're really doing is recording your answers. If you've had any of that experience, please share that on the page and just give me your impressions. How you felt? Would you do it again? Kind of thing. Because I had to do a fake video thing, where they throw a question on the screen and then you answer it on video and then you save it and send it, it's part of on their portal. I did that once, had to go through 5 more interviews, did not get the job. Okay. Then I applied for another job, same company, and congratulations, you got an interview. And then it was one of these video things. The first question popped up on the screen. I mean, I was dressed. I was going to do the same thing again. That first question popped up on the screen. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I won't do it. F this. So I need human interaction. I'm not going to play that game. So I was just wondering if anybody had any artificial intelligence encounters out there. And just feel free to share.
So question, I'm not worried about throwing these guys under the bus. Was this a UHG interview that you did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah. And like, you know what, this is not the last place on earth to work. And as far as places to work, they're not that highly rated. They're just big. So, you know, everybody kind of gravitates to these big companies because there's this false sense of security, and benefits and the salary levels are generally a little bit better. But I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't understand the
barfed it
depersonalization
up.
of hiring people that are gonna be creating revenue for you. It seems really strange. It seems like a very lazy HR process. There, I said it.
There you go.
Sure.
I think somebody sold them a bill of goods and said, this is a great thing to do. It's going to free you up. It's going to pinpoint candidates. It's going to weed out the ones that aren't keeping up with technology changes and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. Well, I know that there was at least one candidate that was eminently qualified and ready to do a good job for them that bowed out just because of that. So, you know, screw that. I stopped. In fact, I just stopped applying at that company back in those days.
Yeah. All right.
And
Well,
I still earned a paycheck.
I think we're about done.
All right,
So,
these guys.
yep.
One
So
last tip as we
get
go
those-
away.
get those
Before you
invites, get those invites in.
Before you hit the end call button, try to exercise your eye-hand coordination and keep looking at that camera right as you hit the end call button.
You want me to do it right now?
Yeah, try that.
Oh, let's see. I gotta look to see where the Facebook. Okay, all right. Now that I know how to stop the streams at.
And everybody,
Wait, I cheated.
it needs practice, right?
I'm trying to use my peripheral. I was off by like 1.5 inches. All right, stop stream. Bam.
Dang.